Welcome to Wise Wolf. My name is Kokil and we're sitting under the full moon of July 29th, 2026. Today's question is, where is your attention going and who is choosing its destination? Tonight marks a quite extraordinary milestone for us. Exactly 1 lunar year ago, under the full moon, this podcast was born. That night was Guru Purnima, the sacred full moon in the Vedic calendar dedicated to honoring the teachers, the guides, and the lineage of wisdom that dispels darkness. So tonight is Wise Wolf's 1-year anniversary. When we started 1 year ago on Guru Purnima, it was a very slow, quiet beginning. Yet somehow, week after week, moon after moon, month after month, this project has grown organically across borders and time zones until we reached the top 100 Rising in Philosophy podcasts globally. That's right. I'm very excited to have hit that milestone just before our 1-year anniversary. I also want to take a moment before we step into tonight's subject to say thank you. I am deeply, immensely grateful to every single one of you tuning in around the world. Those of you listening on quiet night walks, in the kitchens, in your bedrooms, living rooms, or before sleep. And I want to send a special heartfelt thank you to my dear brother all the way in Canada who became my very first subscriber or one of my very first subscribers on Substack. Your early belief in my vision has given me the ground to keep standing on. Thank you. Tonight, under this full buck moon, named for the soft velvet antlers growing on young stags right now, extending outward from the skull as summer reaches its maximum height, we gather to talk about the single most contested resource on earth, attention, our human attention, the very substance of our human life. Let's begin. Before we dive into today's subject, let's look at what's happening on our planet right now during this precise season. In late July, the forest canopy of the northern hemisphere reaches its peak photosynthetic output. Trees are converting more sunlight into living chemical energy per day right now than at any other point in the year. Consider a single mature beech tree. It works in absolute silence, producing enough oxygen in a single summer for 10 human beings to breathe for a full year. How does it achieve this miraculous output? By paying precise, relentless attention to light. Every single leaf in the canopy is subtly angled to avoid shading the leaf beneath it, a phenomenon botanists call leaf mosaic geometry. The entire tree is a distributed attention system, engineered over hundreds of millions of years to catch every arriving photon. Beneath the canopy in open fields, the sunflower practices heliotropism. During its growth phase, the flower head turns from east to west every single day, tracking the arc of the sun. The stem elongates on the shaded side to continuously push the face of the blossom toward the light. It does not waste energy looking at the earth or looking sideways. Whatever it attends to, it grows toward. Literally, its physical structure is shaped by what it chooses to face. High above, the Arctic terns are beginning their southward journey. These birds execute the longest migration of any animal on Earth, a round trip of approximately 70,000 kilometers from the Arctic to the Antarctic and back again. They live in perpetual summer, chasing daylight across the globe. Their navigation across featureless oceans is flawless because their attention is undivided. They do not get pulled off course by local wind eddies or temporary storms. They stay locked onto their planetary grid. Now take a simple sheet of paper, hold a magnifying glass between the sun and that dry sheet of paper. If the magnifying glass is held loosely or moved constantly, the light spreads wide. It warms the paper gently, but nothing really happens. But if you hold the lens completely still, concentrated ray onto a single sharp pinpoint of light, the paper begins to smoke. It ignites. Attention is that magnifying glass. Light is consciousness. Whatever you focus your attention upon, whether it's a craft, a love, a grievance, a fear, a thought, a hobby, an ambitious goal, it intensifies and eventually becomes your reality. Tonight's full moon sits in Aquarius, the sign of the network, the collective, the human system, and the future. The name for this position in Vedic astrology is the Nishta, the nakshatra of resonance, abundance, and rhythmic alignment. Its ancient symbol is the drum, and its presiding deities are the 8 Vasus, the elemental forces of nature: fire, wind, earth, water, dawn, and light. The Nishta asks a fundamental question. What rhythm is your drum beating to? What frequency are you broadcasting into the collective network? Because the network, like Aquarius itself, has no editorial filter, it amplifies whatever you feed into it. If you feed it outrage, it amplifies division. If you feed it presence, it amplifies clarity. In the classical yoga tradition, Patanjali maps the cultivation of attention through 3 progressive stages known as the inner limbs: dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Dharana is concentration. It is the initial act of binding the mind to a single focal point, a breath, a flame, a mantra, or a task. Just gentle, repeated act of bringing the attention back every single time it strays. Dhyana is meditation. This happens when the effort of returning stops being necessary. The attention settles into an unbroken, continuous flow toward the object, like oil poured smoothly from one vessel into another. Samadhi is absorption. It is the moment where the body between the observer, the process of observing, and the object being observed completely dissolves. The magnifying glass, the light, and the paper ignite into a single event. You are no longer paying attention. You are the attention. In the Bhagavad Gita, the warrior Arjuna experiences a total catastrophe of attention on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. His mind is shattered into fragments, torn between family loyalty, fear of death, moral grief, and social duty. He drops his bow because his attention has been hijacked by the story of what might happen. The entire teaching of the Gita across 18 chapters is essentially an attention re-education program in a sense. Krishna does not tell Arjuna to run away to a cave. He teaches him how to anchor himself in the present moment, to pay attention to what is going on around him. He teaches him how to anchor his attention so deeply in the divine center that he can act decisively in the middle of chaos without being consumed by the outcome. Yad bhavam tad bhavati. As is your feeling and attention, so your reality becomes. let us look honestly at our modern world. Technology itself is not the enemy. Satellite navigation, instantaneous translation, global communication tools, and data engines are miraculous human achievements. What has gone wrong is the business model built on top of technology, the deliberate engineering of attention extraction. Modern platforms are designed using the principles of behavioral psychology to create a continuous, low-grade crisis of attention. When your attention is fragmented, you become easily manipulable. You become reactive instead of responsive. You live in a constant stage of digital maya, an optical illusion where everything feels urgent but nothing is important. You end up consuming instead of creating. This is one of the greatest causes of dissatisfaction and mental health issues in our world today. Your mind requires the same protection. You must deliberately build boundaries around your attention, choosing specific times of day where the network cannot be entered, where the phone is in another room, where you give your unbroken presence to a book, a child, a family member, a piece of wood, a friend, a meal, or the silence of the night, or literally anything other than a screen. This is not about time management or corporate productivity. It is about protecting the sanctity of your life, because at the end of your days, your life will simply be the sum total of whatever you chose to pay attention to. To anchor tonight's practice, let us step into one of the most sublime stories in world literature found in the ancient Katha Upanishad. It begins with a young boy named Nachiketa. His father, a wealthy man, was performing a grand religious sacrifice, giving away his possessions to earn spiritual merit. But Nachiketa noticed that his father was giving away only his old barren cows, animals that were blind, lame, and of no use to anyone. Seeing his father's hypocrisy, the young boy felt a deep pang of sorrow. He realized his father was missing the true essence of sacrifice. To make his father realize what true giving meant, Nachiketa stood before him and asked repeatedly, "Father, to whom will you give me?" Annoyed by the boy's persistence, the father snapped in anger, "To death I give you." Nachiketa took his father's angry words as a sacred command. Without fear or hesitation, he walked directly to the realm of Yamaraj, the lord of death and dharma. When Nachiketa arrived, Yamaraj was away on his duties across the cosmos. The young boy sat at the gateway of death for 3 days and 3 nights without food, water, or sleep, waiting patiently, his mind completely focused, unmoved by fear. When Yamaraj returned on the 4th morning, he was shocked and deeply moved to find a young child waiting at his doorstep in total fasting. In the Vedic tradition, leaving a guest unhosted is a grave fault. To make amends, Yamaraj bowed to the boy and said, "O seeker, you have stayed in my house for 3 nights without food. I offer you 3 boons, one for each night you waited. Ask whatever your heart desires." Nachiketa spoke calmly. For his first boon, he asked for reconciliation and peace for his family. "O Yamaraj, let my father's anger be appeased. May he be at peace in his heart, and when I return home from the realm of death, may he recognize me and welcome me with love." Yamaraj smiled and granted the first boon immediately, restoring harmony between father and son. For his second boon, Nachiketa asked for knowledge that benefits humanity. O Lord, tell me of the sacred fire ritual that leads human beings to the heavenly realm where there is no hunger, no old age, and no fear of death. Teach me how this fire is built so that humanity may be freed from physical suffering. Yamraj was delighted by the boy's unselfish heart. He taught Nachiketa the secret geometry of the sacred fire, explaining the number of bricks, the arrangement, and the altar's construction. Nachiketa listened with such unbroken attention that he repeated the entire teaching back to Yamaraj without missing a single detail. Then came the third boon. Young Nachiketa sat upright, looked directly into the eyes of death, and said, "There is a doubt that arises when a human being dies. Some say he still exists. Others say he exists no more. Teach me the truth of consciousness. What lies beyond death? What is the eternal self?" Yamraj's face grew solemn. He attempted to dissuade the boy. Even the gods in ancient time had doubts about the secret. Even the gods in ancient times had doubts about the secret. It is subtle, difficult to comprehend. Ask for another boon, Nachiketa. Do not press me on this. Yamraj then offered the boy unimaginable worldly temptations. I will give you sons and grandsons who will live 100 years. I will give you vast herds of cattle, elephant, gold, and noble horses. I will make you the king of the entire earth. I will give you heavenly maidens with chariots and instruments such as mortals have never seen. All these shall serve you, but do not ask me about the secret of death. Imagine the scene. A child offered infinite wealth, absolute political power, physical beauty, and eternal pleasure. Nachiketa did not flinch. He looked at the glittering illusions laid out before him and said softly, "O death, all these things you offer are ephemeral. They wear out the vigor of the senses. A life, however long, is brief when weighed against eternity. Keep your horses, keep your music, keep your dancing maidens for yourself. How can a human being find joy in wealth when he has seen your face? Can we hold on to riches when we know that you are waiting? No, Yamraj, I do not ask for fleeting shadows. Tell me the secret of that which transcends mortality. I choose no other boon than this." Yamaraj smiled. With immense love and pride, the Lord of Death had tested the child's attention, and the child had proven that his focus could not be bought by glitter or distracted by fear. Yamaraj then delivered the master teaching of the Katha Upanishad. O Nachiketa, two paths present themselves to every human being at every moment, prayas and shreyas. Prayas is the path of the pleasant, the easy, the comfortable, and the immediate gratification. It glitters, it promises vast pleasure, and it hooks the senses, but it leads to fragmentation, delusion, and repeated sorrow. Shreyas is the path of the good, the true, the deep, and the ultimate. It requires discipline, patience, and unbroken attention. It does not glitter on the surface, but it leads to freedom, peace, and immortal awareness. Both paths surround the human mind like an ocean. The wise examine both, separate them with clarity, and choose Shreyas. The foolish, captured by short-term desire and superficial comfort, continuously choose prayers and fall into the trap of their own distraction again and again. That is the story of Nachiketa. Sit with it tonight and reflect upon it. Every time you pick up your phone, every time you choose reactiveness over response, over silence, every time you give your mind away to outrage or cheap validation, you are being offered Yamraja's chariots and golden horses. You are choosing prayas. And every time you step back, close your eyes, protect your attention, and anchor yourself in the quiet witness behind your eyes, you are standing with young Nachiketa. You are choosing Shreyas. That's all for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to go outside tonight and bathe in the healing energy of this full buck moon. And in the upcoming week, choose one single thing to give your full, unbroken attention to. Not more attention, but full attention. A conversation with someone you love without your phone on the table, a walk through the trees where you listen to the sound of leaves and birds, a quiet meal where you taste and sense the underlying flavors. The next episode arrives on the new moon of August 12th, a solar eclipse where the sun disappears at midday and the stars appear in the height of summer. We will step into probability, the mathematics of possibility, and falling in love with the language of the universe. Until then, protect your attention. Happy full moon! The Summer Day by Mary Oliver. Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?